Why do people seek power? Power gives us the things that we want. They don't even have to be bad things. Power, for example, can give us the safety and freedom to pursue the things that we want to pursue. Power, of course, can also get us wealth and status. In short, power allows us to flourish. This is also why people tend to gravitate towards the powerful, because we think that by attaching ourselves to the powerful, they will help us flourish. The whole world seems to be oriented towards power. But as Christians, we ought to ask ourselves the question if we ought to buy into things the way they are, or if Jesus had a different idea about human flourishing. Of course, he did. The best place for us to understand Jesus' idea of human flourishing is in the Beatitudes, which is how he opens the Sermon on the Mount. The Beatitudes are statements that Jesus starts with blessed, and they go a little like this. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. We hear the word blessed, and we think that Jesus is trying to make an empathic statement towards people who are enduring hardship. Kind of how my abuela used to go, ay bendito, whenever I would hurt myself. But that really wasn't Jesus' point. In order to really understand what Jesus meant, we have to look at the original Greek of the word that we translate as blessed. The word is makarios, and a better translation for it other than blessed is to flourish. I don't want to bore you with all the details, and if you want to know all the details, you should read this book that's called The Sermon on the Mount and Human Flourishing by Jonathan T. Pennington, and in it, he makes a really compelling argument that we ought to be translating makarios as flourishing. And with that translation, the Beatitudes really ought to be rendered as follows. Flourishing are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Flourishing are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Flourishing are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. There are other Beatitudes, and I would encourage you to go read them all. But when you take them in their entirety, what Jesus seems to be suggesting is that when humanity is in a diminished state, then humanity flourishes. This will make a little bit of sense when you think about maybe when we pursue humility and the good of others above ourselves, then humanity would flourish. But flourishing that comes through insults and persecution, that's a little bit more challenging. The reality is that Jesus is calling us to understand the world in a whole nother way. He is calling us to flip our understanding of how the world is supposed to work. In another video, we talked about how the Sermon on the Mount is Jesus' vision for the people of his kingdom. Much like the law was supposed to shape the people of Israel, the Sermon on the Mount is supposed to shape the people of the kingdom of God. Jesus is calling us to pursue a lesser humanity instead of pursuing power for humanity's flourishing. Again, this is a completely different way of living and pursuing reality. The Sermon on the Mount and the Beatitudes are not just nice statements, they are statements that Jesus is expecting his followers to actually follow. This is extremely important for us to ponder at a time in which a lot of Christians seem to be going out of their way to pursue power.